Welcome to Industry Ignited, the show where we spotlight bold leaders who are transforming industries with creativity, courage, and innovation. I'm your host, Dr. Leeanne Aguilar. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Robert Louis Lewis, owner of both Quester, a world-renowned market research firm, and Freedom to Roam Walker, where he has pioneered life-changing mobility solutions for individuals with limited mobility. Louis' entrepreneurial journey spans over 4 decades across multiple industries, from land management and consulting to leading Quester's explosive growth. But his story goes deeper. Following a personal health challenge that left him an incomplete quadriplegic, Louis turned his frustration into innovation by creating the independent stand-up walker, a device that promotes freedom and dignity for those with mobility limitations. Louis, welcome to Industry Ignited.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your program, and I'm looking forward to talking with you.
I'm happy to have you, and likewise, I'm excited for our conversation today. Louis, your career spans more than 40 years. What first sparked your entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, I think I've always had that, and I tell people that want to be an entrepreneur that maybe they should just go have a lobotomy to forget about it and not be an entrepreneur. But it's a wonderful journey and brings a lot to the table for me. It makes life exciting. But I've always wanted to fix something and make it better. I'm not very mechanically inclined, but I could see things that might be improved upon, and I would say we can fix that, or somebody else could fix it. So it's always been there. It has never not been a part of me.
So just that you're a problem solver by nature and just always looking ways to improve processes and
That's right. I'm always trying to figure out how to improve processes.
yeah. You've led businesses across finance, real estate, land management, and research. How did those early experiences shape the leader you are today?
Well, I've been lucky. I had a good education at Iowa State, not with books, but because of my life. I remember I was 21 when I had my first surgery, and I had a surgery that was 12 years before the MRI, so they really didn't know what we were getting into. And I ended up being diagnosed with Chiari malformation, which is your brain's too big for your skull, and then it pushes down on your brain stem, and you get brain fluid around that, and that dysfunctions, and then the water brain fluid goes down your spinal cord, and it snaked its way down my spinal cord, and wherever it touched, those nerves dysfunctioned. So what happened with me, I had to start. I didn't go to all my classes. I was not a very good student. When they tell you that you're going to be blind and most likely quadriplegic, you want to party when you're in college. So I did that, and then once I had the surgery and realized I was going to be okay, I had to make up time. So my education was self-taught for the most part, where I started trying to figure out what am I going to do. And I remember walking to class one day when I finally woke up and said, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have not been a very good student." So I've developed and read, if there was an article that I could read about what somebody was doing, how they were leading, how they were managing, I devoured it. I used to read the Master Tax Guide from beginning to end every year, and people would go, "That's craziness." Well, I actually enjoyed reading it, and there's not as much reading in there as you might think because there's a lot of forms and a lot of tables. So, but for the most part, if I wanted to say I had a PhD, it's in life, not education.
Yeah, just experience and
The experiences.
yeah, having that hunger for knowledge and information. And I know you've overcome significant personal health challenges. How has that resilience influenced the way you approach both life and business?
Well, I've had a few people actually ask me why I'm not suicidal with the body that I have, because I am completely, the only thing that I can do is talk and think, and sometimes that process isn't so good, but uh, just kidding with that. But my thought process is okay. I don't have any limitations with the brain, but I have to actually be fed. And I'm an incomplete quadriplegic, which is very unique. A lot of medical professionals don't even realize that there is such a thing. My spinal cord is very atrophied at the top part of my spine where I had the incision, which was 8 or 9 inches long. And now, if I have the same surgery, it would be 1 inch. So that's how much they've improved. But, I learned a lot about life with that and the difficulties, and I don't want to give up. I bet when people ask me, why aren't you suicidal? I say, I want to see how this thing turns out. Um, I tell people there are no great days for anybody. We all have great moments. And
Right.
in the morning when I wake up and I can see that I've made another day, and sounds kind of Pollyanna, but it's true. And then I smell that first cup of coffee and drink that first sip of coffee and then have experiences with people. It's made me who I am. Would I change it? I'm asked that a lot. Would I change what I've gone through? I don't think so because I have, maybe I would have been a bully if I hadn't had the surgery to keep me from being a lot less physical. I wouldn't have been a bully, I'm sure, but you never know. The direction that I've been going down is because of that first surgery.
Yeah. That's super inspirational. I mean, for me, just to hear that. And I really believe it is adversity that shapes us as people. It's what gives
Hmm.
us character. It's what, a lot of times motivates us to innovate and motivates us
Hmm.
to push forward and do the hard things that we wouldn't otherwise do without that adversity.
Hmm.
So,
Well, the biggest adversity, I am told from 74 when I was 21, I am told that I'm the only person in this country that has been on disability, Social Security disability 3 times and left 3 times. I always got to the point where I started feeling better. And so I didn't want to use the system, so to speak, and I wanted to work more hours. So probably I shouldn't have worked as hard as I did through some of the years, but I beat my body up pretty hard with the condition it was in. So but then in 2006, that was the big one that hit me with the health. The doctor that operated on me in 1974 was a very young man at that point, and he was still practicing neurosurgery in 2006 as an older man getting ready to retire. And he told me that I need to get rid of some scar tissue. So I believed him, and we did it. And I was supposed to be in the hospital about 1 week and home and working at Quester again after 30 days, which I had just bought with 2 other fellas the year before. So here I am already out of commission. Well, I ended up getting post surgical bacterial meningitis and lost the use completely of my hands and arms.
oh,
And
wow.
at age 53, you're not supposed to survive that. I did go into full code, but I was already being rushed to surgery, and I had 2 docs supposedly by my gurney pushing me down there, and they saved my life. And I ended up being in the hospital 70 days. So
Wow.
that was the transformation. And then the nerves were damaged so much that I drove to the hospital the day before surgery, and I haven't driven since.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so that was the big transition, and so I still needed to work. I wanted to work. My dad was 94 when he passed away, and he was doing chores. So he was a farmer, and so I got that in my blood. I enjoy working and figuring out things every day. So I didn't want to quit. But that was when the real adversity came about, was 2006.
Okay. So tell me how that transition worked then. So you were working at Quester still. Tell me a little bit more about what you were doing, before, and then, how your mindset, you know, changed and shifted and what that experience was like.
Well, before that, I was doing turnarounds. I had banks and attorneys that referred me clients to work with. Most of them were financially strapped in the beginning. I ended up having about 1,500 of them, and I was very lucky to only have 12 bankruptcies. And I was able to get them back on their feet and turned around all of them that I did, that ended up becoming, in many cases, millionaires once again. So um, I learned a lot about that. And then once again, it was tough on my body doing that, because once I met a client, they were under my skin and I couldn't leave them. Well, a big national bank called me and wanted me to work on a case that ended up being Quester. The owner was a brilliant man, an inventor, and he had this interactive AI way back then. And he was the only sales force within the company, and he ended up getting leukemia and got in very bad shape. If I told you the P&L and the financials, you would think I was absolutely crazy to jump into it, but I was intrigued by what he had, and we got him marketing in short order. He had increased the accounts receivable over tenfold in just a few months.
Wow.
And if I had it to do over again with a company like that, back then they would pay you in 35 days. It was 30-day terms. Now everybody's stretched these small companies out to the point where we have some clients that will not pay us until we invoice after the project is completely done for 180 days. And that makes it real tough on a small boutique company of 35 employees. But
Right.
we've learned to adapt with that, and that's just the way it is and the sign of the times. So,
Yeah, cash flow can really make or break a company. That's true when
yes,
you
it
hit those
can.
terms. Hmm. And so then after you were hospitalized and your condition changed, how did your mindset change?
I just wanted to get as good as I could be and better if there was a way to do it. I've never really liked exercise, but I tried to do everything I could and keep my mind going.
Okay.
I had some effects, short term memory with the meningitis initially, and I would have to figure out what things were that I had never had a problem with before. It wasn't in the business arena, but it was just, once somebody asked me who had the record for NFL interceptions. Well, I honestly could not figure out what an interception meant.
Oh,
And so I just didn't really say much. I have no idea. But the best part is, it comes back to you. It started coming back to me. And now the only time I really have a problem with my brain is when I'm extremely tired in the middle of the late in the afternoon.
hmm,
I make sure I get a nap every day. That's kind of the Lewis tradition. We've always done that. Even on the farm, Dad would take a 15, 20-minute nap. And so it comes naturally. But
yeah,
I had to be very careful, thinking about things. And then I waited for a long time before I really started moving forward. But I have.
yeah. And can you tell us about the moment you envisioned the independent stand-up walker?
Yes, I because of the fact that my legs work and my arms don't, I have to have somebody beside me, usually on my left side, and everybody wants to pull, push, or lift. And my men friends, I've got one friend that I say, Steve, why don't you just carry me the way you're lifting me? You're pulling so hard. So I would try to educate people, and Kim, who is my able assistant, she knows how to do it. She just balances me. I have no feeling in my upper back or my arms, and that's where you get your balance from. But I wanted to keep my legs in shape. So believe it or not, one morning at 3 a.m., I had a dream that showed me how to build the device. And I woke up that next morning and talked to my son, and he has a friend that I knew well, and he's a structural engineer, I believe it is, and he listened to me talk from top to bottom, and in a couple of days gave me a rendition of what it was that I wanted, and that was the first prototype. It's very different, and we're still patent pending, but we're getting there. It's very different because I can't use my hands and arms. I can't use a normal half walker, I call it. So if you envision crutches in a cage, that's what it is. And it's been, I put my armpits, if you will, on the crutches, and I get in it that way, and then I'm completely independent. Once I'm in it, I have nobody helping me walk. It just feels great if I just do it. But I'm probably, my legs are good enough now that it's kept me out of the wheelchair 3 to 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it raises from 5'2" to 6'3", and it expands on the side so you can get obese people in there. And we've had it tested. It broke at 943 pounds of pressure. So it should be pretty sturdy.
Yeah, so it's really versatile and flexible for different people and
And then it
different.
knocks down to 3 inches when you want to transport it. But
Wow.
we've given lots of them away to people for testing, and they actually show up, some of them on the website. We had a young lady that was 18 that is a very brilliant lady. She is a severe CP, and she had never walked, and she was in a wheelchair, 90-degree angle forever. And she actually walked in that device one night for the first time with her mom and dad and sister.
Wow.
And it was very tearful.
Yeah.
I didn't have tears until they all started crying. But it was wonderful. I have a video. It's
Yeah.
showing her, and her mom is in the background saying she's actually doing this on her own.
Wow, that is amazing. That gives, yeah, so much hope for people,
Yes,
I think,
yes.
in situations where maybe they didn't have a way to get around before, or hope, or a device that made it possible for them to be mobile. What makes this walker different from traditional mobility aids, and what impact have you seen it have on people's lives? I mean, you just gave us one story, but what else can you share?
I have gone to physical therapy, as you might guess, several times. Where I go is On with Life at Ankeny, Iowa. It's a premier facility for brain injury. And they had a device that was very, very structurally big, if you will, weighed a lot. And they would take my arms and raise them and strap them in. And it took 5 to 10 minutes to do that. And then I would go on my way, or try to, and I could hardly move the contraption. And it was just so heavy that the most I think I ever got out of it was about 5 minutes, because it just wore me out. And then it would take another 5 to 10 minutes to get me out of it. And this machine, the device is different in that you don't have to strap your arms up. They're lower, and you might have to have in physical therapy maybe two people, depends on how disabled the person is,
Uh-huh.
to get them in the device. But then once you're in there, it only takes one person to be with them. And you can throw away the parallel bars with this. You don't need that anymore, which takes two people.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of sports injuries, it's very good. We had one individual that had a stroke. He was a stroke survivor, And his granddaughter ran into me at a conference and she said, I want one of those. And I said, well, it's one of one. And I said, we'll make your grandfather one and let him use it. And he was in a nursing home and during COVID, and because of that, he didn't get any physical therapy. And his daughter happened to be with him that day I gave him his device from, she's a nurse from Washington, D.C. area, I believe. And she said, I wish this would have been invented years ago. And I said, well, so Bob was his name. And he got in it and was not able to move his legs. And he just couldn't do it. And he tried and tried and tried. And so I said, Bob, you got to stop here. We're going to wear yourself out. And he did. And I kept talking to his daughter. And he stared at the device the whole 20 minutes we talked. And he looked at me and he said, I want to do it again. And he got in it and he had his daughter take his pant legs above the knees and move them. And after a little bit, he was actually going on his own. And he continued to walk for 20 minutes and didn't want to stop. I made him stop because he was going to wear himself out. But last I knew, he had become a lot more independent and was able to go places with his wife and
Yeah.
that type of thing. So it does make a difference.
So when you first developed the device, were you expecting it to be something you produced and distributed for others to use, or did you just create it for yourself?
It's a very expensive creation for myself, but I would have been happy if that could be the case. We were in COVID when we were trying to get it developed, and nobody wanted to touch it because all the manufacturers were so busy. They had huge projects for companies, and I finally convinced a company in Illinois to produce 100 of them.
Okay.
And it took a lot of arm twisting to get it done. But, that's where it is, that it's out there, but there's lots of issues with it. We are VA approved now, and so the veterans can use it. So, yeah, I maybe didn't answer your question completely there, but
That's okay. Yeah. And so is it out to market officially, or you're still in the proof
yeah,
of concept?
we have not really pushed real hard on the marketing. I have a website. We're wanting to wait for sure until the patent comes back.
Okay.
We've got people at On With Life that are using it, and the thing that they tell me is that it gives their people stability, which is what stroke survivors are looking for. And you cannot tip this thing over. I'm not an engineer, but the dream showed me how to splay the legs. And I've had, half a dozen engineers look at this and say, how did you know to do that? And I said, I didn't. It showed up in the dream. So
Inspiration. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it works.
it works.
Hmm. So let's changing the focus to Quester for a minute. Quester has become one of the world's most sought after market research firms. What do you believe sets it apart in such a competitive field?
We have had lots of struggles getting there. And originally, when we did the AI, we were also doing focus groups, phone interviews. We did it all. And then it got to the point where I could see what was happening in 2007 with the economy, and I opted to go completely AI because we just were not going to be able to afford all the focus groups and the phone people, and we took a big leap of faith with that. In my conference room, I have a picture of the first client that we had in 2003 that we actually invoiced. And that's a metaphor for all the stuff we've done with that. But the people, we've got fabulous people. I've always told my clients when I was working with the 1,500 clients, trying to get them turned around and fixed, I gave them a lot of advice that I hoped worked. It was common sense. Treat your people well, hire brighter people than you are, delegate. People tell me, Doctor, that I've accomplished a lot, and I tell them I haven't accomplished a thing. I delegated every bit of it. So, we've got brilliant people. We treat them well. We don't have a huge turnover by any means over the last 22 years. My head of IT has been with me and with the company 22 or 3 years. The head of market research has been with the company 25 years. We have an individual that is the only employee that's older than I am, and she doesn't want to quit. I'm 72, and she's probably, I don't know, 74 or 5. But we don't have office hours. Never have since I've been there. I made it that way. You can come and go as you like. We're adults, and I want to treat you as an adult, and we want to be family oriented. I used to know so much about all the employees, their families, their kids, but now we are pretty much virtual. All of 85 to 90% of our employees work out of the office. We have more sales every year, but we just gave up 2/3 of our space because we don't need it. We had over 11,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that because we've got security measures in place, very, very secure. So, and our employees are deadline driven. We know when somebody is not working to their potential, which honestly doesn't happen very often. We don't miss deadlines.
Yeah. So making sure you're hiring the right people who have that drive and ambition, who are motivated and just really align with the culture of your business, just ensures that they keep productive and meet their goals.
Absolutely. And I'm from the old school now, but if it were me, I would want to be at the office every day. I think we miss some of that water cooler conversation that sparks an interest or a thought or a process that we really are missing today. But it's reality that's it's not going to go away. These
Right.
large companies that are trying to get their employees to come back are going to have a real struggle, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons. I mean, I think you're right. We do miss, I mean, out on the relationship aspect and off of uh, getting inspired from other people with ideas and having the opportunity to share back and forth and really learn. And there are benefits on the other hand. I mean, just, on the employees' ability to work when they need to and maybe nights and evenings when they wouldn't otherwise and take care of their families and work around schedules and stuff like that. And which might keep retention, higher. But yeah, I've talked to different people, explored that, and pros and cons definitely, and overhead is definitely lower, right? So
Yes, it is.
yeah. Now, and your firm has won awards like Explore and David Ogilvy. What do those recognitions mean to you and your team?
Pretty important. The Explorer Award, that's without an E. We were nominated by Samsung, and they asked us, I think the project was called Black Friday, and their results from after Thanksgiving Black Friday had not been so good. And they asked us to follow them and help them and reduce a lot of stuff. And they actually gave us recognition by nominating us for the Explorer Award, which we won. And I won't even tell you the percentage that we have in a letter that says how much we improved or their sales. It's a phenomenal amount of increase of sales, and people don't believe it
Hmm.
when you tell them. But we have a letter to that effect. So um, we still have Samsung as a client, and that's one I can talk about because they nominated us for the award.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
impressive. And to be able to benefit a client to that extent is, I mean, that's always the goal, right? It's creating
Right,
win-win situations where you're
right.
benefiting clients as a marketing company, I mean, we're the same way. It's like we win if our clients win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you go shopping, a good share of your cart is going to be products that we've worked with, um, through the years, one way or the other, and we're pretty proud of that. Can't tell you who they are, but there's a lot of them in there. So,
Yeah. Awesome. How do you balance leading a global research company with growing a mission-driven startup like Freedom to Roam?
well, I'm not really as active in Quester as I was. I look at my reports every day, and I've got an individual in the company that is very responsible, very bright. I mentor him and doing less of that all the time. He's in the process of buying the company. And so I'm trying to step back, which is hard. It's not always easy to have a baby that you pulled out of the fire a few times and you made it survive and thrive. But I'm talking to other business owners who have done the same thing. I'm not unusual. That's just natural thought process.
Yeah,
So
right.
I've had more time to work with the Walker startup, and it's not. I didn't have the money to hire salespeople, um, and it's been. I would really like to have some very high-powered salespeople, but I don't have that luxury right now. And so I'm just waiting until we're probably about 2 to 3 weeks about having the patent final. And so then we'll see what happens. We already had an offer to sell the company, which I'm not really excited about doing because there are a lot of companies out there that, excuse me,
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we can start up from you've had an offer to start or sell the company.
I don't want to sell the company because my fear is that somebody like a big pharmaceutical will have a device that would be in competition, not unlike what we have, but they'll just put it in a closet. And this thing works. It helps so many people of different ailments. And it's not about the money for me. When my wife hears that, she goes ballistic. She's, I want paid back for all the money we put in this thing, but I've not had any outside capital or investors or anything like that. It's all been self-funded, but I'm not sure what direction it's going to go. It's taken a whole lot longer than I thought it would to get it where it is today, and the patent office is extremely backed up, and so time will tell.
Yeah. But it's a labor of love. That's what I'm hearing. And it's something that you really care about, are passionate about, and believe in. And so you're not just willing to sell it or hand it off when you don't feel it's going to be promoted and um, taken to market in a way that you would want it to be.
No, worst case scenario, I have a device that will keep me out of the wheelchair, just one of them, if worst case scenario, that has kept me moving. And so what's that worth? It's worth a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. You've navigated industries, challenges, and reinventions. What advice would you give leaders who want to innovate while staying true to their values?
Well, you absolutely have to stay true to your values. And if you don't have good values, get them. There is this thing called karma out there. And I'm not sure whether karma has a nice C that cuddles you or whether it has a K that kicks you. Okay. But I do believe that whatever you do to others will come back to either embrace you or haunt you. I've seen it happen so many times. As I said earlier, hire bright people, hire brighter people than you are. One of the things that I've seen through the years with my 1,500 clients was that managers of departments were always concerned about hiring somebody that was smarter than they were. Just the opposite needs to happen. It'll make you look better. It works. Somehow you keep your position, you're able to excel, and then they can move off and have their own positions, the people that you hire. But, all the stuff that's written out there is great. There's a lot of it. That's one of my biggest problems right now is they're throwing books at us like crazy. Self-help books, motivational books, mystery novels, and there's too little time. But, it's you don't need to be the expert. A lot of people want to be an expert. You just don't need, if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know. I'll get back to you. Um, it seems to be a tough thing to do, but people will sometimes just make stuff up that doesn't, it's not valid and it's not what you should be doing.
Yeah. Right. So hiring people who are better than you, which makes sense because then if you're delegating, especially, you're delegating to people who have more wisdom and know-how in certain aspects of the job than you do, which is more powerful, and they can take those initiatives further, which makes you look good. That makes sense. Being selective on the information that you consume. That's what I'm hearing, and just admitting when you don't know what you don't know, and being
And
humble.
and we get to know the people and their families. It's important. And if you don't really mean it, fake it, and you will start really meaning it.
Yeah, fake
They
it till
like
you
to
make
have
it.
you.
Is that
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah. And how do you define success at this stage of your career?
That's easy. I've had this one forever in my head. It's a Louisism. Being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And I'm not quite there yet because I don't always do the things that I want to do because I'm still limited on time.
Ah, but I think that's a definition of freedom, really, what you just described. And
Yes, it is.
yeah, yeah, being
Yep,
able to do what you want to do when you want to do it,
yep.
and that's freedom. Looking ahead, what's next for you and your vision for both Quester and Freedom to Roam?
Well, Quester's going to be on its own with other people, and I accept that, and I'm excited about that. And anything that I can do to help, I will. The Walker Company, well, it remains to be seen where it goes. I'm a soft scientist and not a hard scientist. I've learned a lot about building stuff and making this thing work and welding and materials. I'm really looking for something right now that will give me another passion. I've got it to some degree. Whatever I do, I have passion, okay? But sometimes that passion goes away rather quickly. I've got two books in my head that I would like to write. One of them is my journey with caregivers and what that's like. I have been so very fortunate to have absolutely wonderful, caring, very professional caregivers. Right now, I have three PhDs. One of them just left, so I can't count her. And then one medical doctor. I have one medical doctor that drives to be with me one night a month, 100 miles, and stays with me and then goes back the next morning. So we have a story to tell about what caregivers think, and then from my perspective, and then from my wife's perspective, and a lot of stories that we could put down. So I want to do that. It probably won't be a bestseller, but it's a help book that would, let people know that you're not in this alone and give them some ideas.
Yeah. And that's so valuable. I mean, I had my sister's son, my nephew, went through a accident, had an accident last year, and traumatic brain injury. And I think that's so much as part of their process is just reaching out and finding inspiration and hope and ideas and from other people who've gone through similar things. It's hard to find sometimes, and because the doctors don't have all the answers, they haven't been through it themselves really, and so they don't know, and they can't tell you a prognosis a lot of times. There's not enough information out there in some areas, yeah. And so hearing it from people who've been there and experienced it, and just getting getting hope and ideas, and goes a long way, and just bringing comfort and easing the pain of those who are suffering through those types of situations.
And I would give them a lot of very simple things. And it's like, I've been at this now a long time with my body. And one of the things that I did that will be in that book is rubber shower shoes. Believe it or not, I didn't think of that. That has been a lifesaver.
Yes,
Just
yes,
such a simple thing that why didn't I think of it 3 or 4 years ago?
right. Yeah, that's true. Simple things like that can make a huge difference.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, Louis, thank you for sharing your story with us today. Your journey, it's a powerful example of resilience, innovation, and impact, turning challenges into opportunities and building solutions that truly change lives. How can our listeners learn more about Questor and Freedom to Roam Walker?
Well, if they want to email me, I'm not sure, is that appropriate?
Yeah, however you
Yeah.
want them to contact
My
you.
I love emails because it gives me an opportunity to talk to people. My personal email is bobjohnlewis@msn.com. That's BOBJOHNLEWIS at msn.com. And that's the catch all for everything I do, whether it's the Walker or Quester. And if it's Quester stuff, if you will, I'll get it to the right people.
Great. All right. So, listeners, just feel free to reach out to Louis by email if you have questions or want more information about his walker or Quester. And again, Louis, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me today. And for our listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of Industry Ignited. Make sure to subscribe and follow us and join us for our next episode. Until then, stay bold, stay curious, and keep igniting industry.
Thank you very much.